Whoopi Goldberg just hit full meltdown mode on live TV. And no, it wasn't over Joy Behar's latest blunder. This time, it was Charlie Kirk and Megyn Kelly who tag-teamed a takedown so brutal, it left Whoopi stunned and silent. One moment, she was sipping smugness. The next, she was scrambling as her own words unraveled. Let's break down the takedown that rocked The View.
That hot mess that they air in the mornings, called The View, had to issue not one, not two, not three, but 4 corrections, legal corrections. Not to mention what they did at that debate, where once again, they tried to fact check only one side, and then when their fact checks got fact checked, they cowered. They cowered in fear. I mean, this is a pattern with them.
But look, what did it take for us to get to the point of an apology? We had to threaten a lawsuit, Jesse. And by the way, we're still entertaining it. We're talking to some of the best lawyers out there that are experts in this. And as you know, these things can be very complicated. There's a lot of facts and circumstances around it. But we're not going to let this go, because you should not be able to smear 5,000 high school and college kids and then just be able to walk away with it.
No, it wasn't triggered by Joy Behar's latest fashion fail. This was something else entirely. It all went down after Charlie Kirk and Megyn Kelly tag-teamed a takedown so ruthless, even Simon Cowell would have said, too far. One minute, Whoopi was chilling, sipping on smugness. The next, she looked like someone was about to flip the table and call security.
Charlie Kirk's the founder and CEO of Turning Point USA and the author of the new book, The College Scam. So, Charlie, do you accept The View's apology?
I mean, regardless of whether or not I accept it, the question is, do our students accept it? That's really what's at heart here. They went after our 5,000 students at our event there of high school and college kids. And look, I get attacked all the time. People say false things. I'm a public figure. But when you go after 16 and 17-year-olds that travel from across the country that then have to live for the rest of their life with a shadow over...
Whatever they said hit deep, like cut to the core deep. It didn't just ruffle feathers, it detonated Whoopi's cool on live TV. One moment she was perched in her usual throne of smugness, sipping drama like coffee. The next, panic in her eyes like someone just flipped the table and called security. This wasn't just a clapback, it was a precision strike that cracked her composure wide open. The energy? Hotter than a group chat after someone dropped screenshots. The View didn't know what hit them. This wasn't tension, this was a live broadcast disaster in the making. And Whoopi? She was dead center in the blast zone.
They're disgusting. She's Anna Navarro in your wildest imagination. You could never solo host a show. You will only ever make it as part of an ensemble, and you could never hope to achieve the success that Tucker Carlson has. So you can sit in your little cheap seats all day long and enjoy your little negative henpecking, but your careers are going nowhere, and Tucker is about to dominate in whatever space he goes.
Whoopi is sitting high on her squeaky leather throne, acting like the queen of daytime TV chaos. Every sentence she throws out sounds like a scrambled rant written mid-crisis. Picture this. She's juggling half-baked political takes, dodging fact checks, and delivering word salads so messy, even the prompter's giving up. It's like watching someone try to freestyle a TED Talk while their espresso kicks in late. Each episode feels like verbal roulette. Will it be a conspiracy theory, an unhinged analogy, or a tone-deaf take that sends the crew lunging for a commercial break? The View was supposed to be about real conversations, but these days it's a shouting match where logic gets side-eyed and any glimpse of nuance is treated like it's contagious.
The reason they felt they needed to do that, Jesse, is because if they told their audience the truth, that when gas is the most expensive it's been, flights are super expensive, that 5,000 kids decided to spend a weekend in summer traveling across the country to go hear from conservative speakers, maybe the audience of The View would think twice about all of their ideas. That's why they felt so compelled to try to smear our wonderful summit this last week.
And Whoopi, oh, she wasn't ready. One minute she's steering the conversation like she owns the room, and the next she's blindsided. No warning, no build-up, just full-on intellectual impact. Charlie Kirk didn't ease into it. He didn't throw a jab. He launched a blitz. With no warm-up, no smile, no filter, he tore into The View like it was a weak spot in national security. Whoopi looked like someone just unplugged her teleprompter mid-sentence.
Welcome back. You know, in Monday's conversation about Turning Point USA, I put the young people at the conference in the same category as the protesters outside. And I don't like it when people make assumptions about me. And it's not any better when I make assumptions about other people, which I did. So, my bad. I'm sorry. Okay. So.
Kirk took that moment and blew it wide open. He didn't just offer a rebuttal. He orchestrated a full-blown takedown. This wasn't a clapback. It was a televised inquisition. With the confidence of someone who brought both the receipts and the highlighter, he exposed the View's narrative like a cracked screen on national display. He wasn't just calling out Whoopi, he dragged the whole panel into the spotlight. In his version of events, this wasn't a simple misstep, it was a galaxy-level disconnect, like they were floating on red carpets in zero gravity, sipping lattes while preaching to Earth like they still had signal.
I mean, there was what do you call it, this turning point conference with all the smoke? What are they, smoking something down there? Or it's like, whatever. Anyway, they were out there, were in the front of out there in front of the conference with anti-Semitic slurs.
Whoa, the drama. Charlie Kirk's organization, Turning Point USA, threatened to sue The View. And let me tell you, the nonsense that ensued is really...
To Kirk, the show had stopped reflecting real people a long time ago. What once aimed to be a space for meaningful discussion had become, in his eyes, a glammed-up echo chamber, a velvet-wrapped megaphone for recycled elitist takes. Daytime TV turned into a designer soapbox, miles removed from the everyday American. And when he dropped that perspective, he didn't just whisper it, he broadcasted it across every platform he could find. He lit up the internet with a barrage of commentary, pumping out clips, podcast episodes, and mic-dropping tweets like a man on a mission. The result? Whoopi didn't just trend, she detonated. Cold, crispy, and algorithm-approved, the backlash exploded across timelines. But just when you thought it couldn't escalate any further, enter Megyn Kelly. Not a sidekick, not a hype woman. She came in like a courtroom assassin. Where Kirk swung with passion, Megyn sliced with precision. She didn't yell, she didn't flinch. She dissected the chaos like a forensic analyst walking into a high-profile crime scene. Cool, controlled, and already seeing how it ends.
They asked him about that. They asked him about that moment. Watch this, SOT 36.
When the vice president was here, I asked her if she would have done something differently than your administration over the past 4 years. And because of all the successes that your administration had, I think her response was, there is not a thing that comes to mind. Now, that answer was weaponized against her. And there has been some reporting that you encouraged her.
Calm, collected, and lethal. Megyn Kelly didn't need to shout to make waves. She walked in with the sharpness of a courtroom veteran, effortlessly flipping through Whoopi's long list of public flops, like evidence in a trial. No theatrics, no raised voice, just surgical precision. Her delivery wasn't fire, it was ice, and that cut even deeper. Where Charlie Kirk brought the sledgehammer, Megyn brought the scalpel. She exposed the pattern, moment after moment where Whoopi's commentary fell flat, missed the mark, or outright backfired. It wasn't just about one bad take, it was a timeline of tone deafness that had been overlooked for too long. And Megyn didn't gloat. She didn't drag it out. She just dropped the truth, turned on her heels, and walked away like the case was already closed. The damage was done, not with shouting or rage, but with cold, quiet accuracy that left Whoopi's image looking like it had just gone through a paper shredder in slow motion. The result? A glorious, high-speed pileup of egos, backlash, and viral soundbites. It wasn't a scandal. It was a full-blown, nationally broadcast demolition derby.
Do you think if a liberal came to speak at University of Kentucky, they'd give an open mic like I just did to a conservative and had a discussion like this?
I certainly hope they would.
No, they wouldn't. Because speech is not a left-wing value. That is why they have to deploy shock troops called Antifa to go after everywhere I go. When I go to University of California, Davis next week, there has to be 120 police officers because of the threats, the violent threats of liberals that want me dead, that want to disrupt our events. There are no right-wing hecklers that come to events like this. I think it's rather clear there's one side that is trying to do everything they can to shut one side up, and one side that's trying to open up the marketplace of ideas. And I think that's rather self-evident.
And the internet? Oh, it did what it does best, detonated. The second this clash hit social media, timelines ignited like someone had dropped a match in a fireworks factory. Memes, instant, edits, ruthless, TikToks, remixes, slow-mo drama clips, every platform turned Whoopi's unraveling into digital performance art. It was as if every meme lord and culture commentator got the same memo. Today, we feast. But to truly understand why the internet sank its teeth in, you've got to grasp what Whoopi represents. She's not just a co-host, she's the thunderous anchor of The View. Her takes don't drip, they pour. Heavy with opinion and delivered with the authority of someone who knows she's right. She's spent years framing herself as the final boss of daytime debates, the oracle of clapbacks, the living, breathing mic drop. Each time she speaks, it's like a sermon, equal parts passion and proclamation. And for the longest time, that energy worked. She commanded the table, she dictated the tone, but now, in the age of receipts and real-time accountability, that once unshakable power, it's starting to crack. Her opinions no longer land like gospel. They land like hot takes from yesterday's headlines. And that's what made this takedown hit different. It wasn't just about what she said. It was about what she had become, a personality trapped in a loop, preaching with the same flair but losing the room, because at some point, even the loudest voice stops being heard, when the crowd realizes it was never really a conversation. It was just a monologue with applause signs.
Her disgusting, gross elitism and her complete out-of-touch nature with respect to the rest of the world. Sunny Hostin goes on The View and decides now would be a great time to dump all over the so-called uneducated.
What we did not have is white women who voted about 52%, right, for Donald Trump. Uneducated white women, is my understanding. You have Latino men, actually, voting more for him. And you have, and black men was not the story. We're not the story here because they voted almost 80% for the vice president.
Right.
Just because you didn't go to college doesn't mean you're stupid, and it doesn't mean that you don't have wisdom. You can go to college and get a bunch of irrelevant facts about how men can allegedly give birth or whatever.
But here's the plot twist, one that no audience member, viewer, or diehard fan could have predicted. Even the queen of clapbacks can trip on her own pedestal. After years of dominating the conversation and controlling the tempo, Whoopi's once commanding presence has started to unravel, morphing into something closer to a parody of itself. The dismissiveness, the righteous indignation, the dramatic pauses, they used to hit like truth bombs. Now, they land like recycled monologues from last week's episode. Her signature sass that once had people snapping their fingers is being met with blank stares and uncomfortable silence. It's the kind of shift you don't notice all at once, but when it hits, it's undeniable. And when the backlash finally exploded, it didn't arrive gently. It didn't knock. It kicked the door down like it had a score to settle. Because no matter how iconic you are, no matter how many Emmys are gathering dust on your shelf, there's always a moment when people stop clapping and start questioning. When the audience doesn't just roll their eyes, they roll out. What makes this moment so devastating isn't just that Whoopi got dragged. It's that she got exposed, not for a slip-up, not for a wild take, but for a years-long streak of smugness, hollow commentary, and surface-level wisdom packaged as profound truth. She wasn't canceled. She was disassembled, slowly, methodically, and publicly. Charlie Kirk and Megyn Kelly didn't just land punches. They pulled back the curtain and turned the spotlight around. This wasn't a viral moment. It was a cultural audit. And when the receipts hit the floor, Whoopi's mystique didn't just crack, it crumbled. What followed wasn't a dramatic monologue. It wasn't a redemption arc. It was a long, awkward fade-out as the crowd sat still, watching the entire descent.
I don't want to say too much, but we're going to have a lot of fun at the Department of Education. We're going to have a lot of fun.
Can I tell you something? Like, I've had quite a few people contact me about that particular post. Like, I'm sure I have 1/100th of what you're getting, but people are contacting me about cabinet posts. I'm like, I got nothing.
I mean, yeah, I'm actually, after this conversation, heading to Mar-a-Lago for a week, and we have a lot to sift through, and if I could be helpful, I have asked. I want to be actively involved in all things education, as you can imagine.
And to make matters worse, The View itself has devolved into something unrecognizable. A daytime circus with no ringmaster, just competing clowns fighting for airtime. It's become the studio version of a group project where no one brought the research, but everyone insists they're the smartest in the room. The result? An endless loop of noise, talking over each other, recycling hot takes, dodging facts like dodgeballs, and hoping viewers won't notice the chaos behind the curtain. The show now functions more like a glorified echo chamber where nuance is treated like a threat and disagreement is met with condescension instead of conversation. It's not just that the segments lack depth, it's that they seem actively allergic to it. Every discussion feels like a scripted fight, engineered for outrage clips and social media scraps, not real insight. And Whoopi? She's no longer the unshakable anchor. She's just another drifting voice in a room full of static. Meanwhile, the very culture Whoopi once commanded has shifted. Audiences are savvier now. They spot performative outrage. They recognize when passion turns into posturing. And when someone keeps serving the same tired routine without growth, they check out. That's the bitter truth. The reason this backlash hit so hard wasn't because Whoopi got called out by louder voices. It was because the audience, her audience, stopped clapping. Not out of spite, not because of cancel culture, but because they finally realized the emperor wasn't wearing new clothes. They just weren't looking anymore.
Whoopi Goldberg was angry when Alyssa pointed out that Trump went to the funeral of of Officer Diller.
Yes.
On Long Island, and Joe Biden went to a podcast. Look at Whoopi Goldberg's reaction.
Choose what you like there, but for Republicans, it was good imagery.
Really?
One day later, yes.
And I'm asking that because I was so offended because you know who showed up.
Yeah.
And he was, whether he was asked or not. This
So he
is a
was
man
invited.
who didn't care what happened to the officers on January 6th.
She promotes Joe Biden and Kamala Harris every day on that show. Trump wasn't supportive enough of the cops who were, yes, in danger on J 6th. How does that explain their behavior on a daily basis toward Harris, toward Biden, toward AOC, toward all of the left, including their own show, Sunny Hostin? The hypocrisy is rank.
It didn't hit hard because it was cruel. It hit because it was accurate. Whoopi didn't get roasted over a one-off bad take. She got confronted with a pattern. Years of smug commentary, half-baked political jabs, and an air of untouchable arrogance had finally reached their expiration date. She'd built a legacy on being loud, bold, and supposedly wise, but somewhere along the way, she forgot the audience isn't loyal to volume. It's loyal to truth. And when that truth catches up, it's not gentle. Charlie Kirk may be the loudest guy in the room, but this time, he wasn't just throwing elbows, he was making sense. And Megyn Kelly, she came through like a scalpel, not a sledgehammer. With zero theatrics, she stripped away the illusion. This wasn't a takedown for sport. This was an audit of a decaying persona. And what they revealed wasn't just a fall from grace, it was a slow leak of credibility that had been going unchecked for far too long. Whoopi used to own the stage. Now she looks like a relic of another era, stuck in her own echo chamber, repeating the same old takes like they're still fresh. The sighs, the side eyes, the I know better than you tone, it all used to hit, but now it just echoes. The problem isn't that Whoopi changed, it's that the audience did, and she never noticed. The View? It didn't evolve, it calcified. What used to be bold discourse has turned into a loop of lazy elitism, moral superiority, and fact-free emotion. Meanwhile, real people with real problems tune in and wonder why no one at the table seems to live in the same world they do. The louder they shout, the more disconnected they sound. And no amount of Emmy Awards or media puff pieces can fix that disconnect. Even the moments meant to be powerful now fall flat. The fire's gone. The attitude? Predictable. And the audience, once clapping on cue, is now scrolling, switching, unsubscribing. Because you can't fool people forever. At some point, they want authenticity. And when they don't get it, they move on. Megyn and Charlie didn't just call Whoopi out. They held up a mirror, and what it reflected wasn't a titan of television. It was a host still living off past relevance, unaware the culture had lapped her 3 times and stopped pretending to care. This wasn't her being canceled. This was her becoming background noise. The most brutal fall isn't public. It's silent. It's when the audience stops listening, not because they're offended, but because they've stopped believing you matter. And that's where Whoopi is now, still talking, still performing, but to a room that's no longer clapping. A legacy dulled by repetition, buried under years of treating opinions like facts and outrage like entertainment. The message is clear. No one stays above accountability forever, not even daytime royalty. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next one.